Slaney and Belisi talking about Greek again. And what we're talking about now, at the moment, is the so-called independent uses of the optative. Maybe you remember in the previous lesson we had the independent uses of the subjunctive, where subjunctives can be main verbs in sentences. And previously all the subjunctives and optatives we've had have been in subordinate clauses, like purpose clauses or things like that, or in conditions where they're in an if clause. Had something like this in, if you think about it, in the future less vivid condition, the so-called should-would condition, you do have an optative that's the verb of the main clause, okay? And really what we're talking about today is exactly that, one of the two possibilities. But it's good to think about the optative and the subjunctive as comparing and contrasting. And we try to make the case that subjunctive and optative, subjunctive between them, the subjunctive is always closer to reality, to the indicative, and the optative is closer to the contrafactual forms, but both of them are in contrast with one another. So we have three independent uses of the subjunctive, you remember? There's the hortatory subjunctive, which is let's go and do something, which in a way it's the speaker expressing a wish that everybody do something, but it's such an intense wish that it's a command, right? And you can't say, is this true of let's go do something, right? It's let's not, but not that it's true or false, okay? Or the other we have is prohibitions, which are just negative commands. And the last one is you're asking yourself a question about a question. Am I to do such and such a thing, right? So weird sort of situation, but it's really about, do I want to do something? Do I want to consider the answer to a certain question? So they're all about wishes, and they're relatively real. When it comes to the optative, there are not three but two independent uses of the optative. And formally, the big distinction is there's one use that has on, the modal particle, and another that does not have on, okay? Notice that you do have the option, okay, of overmarking the absence of on, okay? You don't need to have anything in addition to mark a wish optative, the optative without on, but sometimes Greek does that, and it has little particles. Agar is one of them. That's particularly nasty, because you know that a means if and gar means cause, okay? And this agar doesn't introduce a condition. It introduces a wish, okay? So we have to be careful about that. That it's a condition without a then clause, then you know that it's not a condition.
Right.
Okay. All right. But they're relatively rare, the particles, and usually can pick up on this. All right, so let's get back to the basic distinction. When you have the on in an independent optative, it's about an expectation. And in other words, it's like the conclusion of a future less vivid, a should-would condition. It's about something that you expect will happen, a potential. Another name for this, and what the book calls it, is the potential optative, where you're talking about something that potentially could happen, but that the real idea is that you're expecting that it might, okay? The other one, the one that has no on, expresses a wish on the part of the speaker that something happen, okay? So if we go over to the next page on that blackboard, we'll see an example of it. So the first one, going in reverse order, it has the two optional particles, okay? That one's the wish one, the one without the on, where you can have agar and athe. Athe, note, is one word. Agar is not, is two separate words that only occur in this kind of a optative construction, right? And what that means is, if only we could stop the battle, okay? May we be stopping the battle, okay? We could be stopping, or is better because we got a present optative in pau oi main, and you remember mache means battle, okay? It's expressing a wish that something happen, and it's not that likely that it will happen, okay, because it's an optative after all right? The second example is the same sentence, but with the on, where you're expressing an expectation. And what that means is we could be stopping the battle. We might be stopping the battle, okay? So we may, might, or could is what the book says, but the basic idea is you're talking about what you expect to happen. We could stop the battle. We might stop the battle. All right. So again, it's a binary thing. You have the presence of the absence of the on, and you already have an example basically of pau oimen ante machen in the conclusion of a future less given condition. All right, great.